Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Sally Bartamioli, White Chick.
I'm D. Gardner, Black Chick.
I'm a shadow work facilitator. I'm a writer. I'm a coach. I'm a speaker. I'm the founder of lorabridges and also D.A.R.R.E, Dialogue Authentically about Real Racial Experiences. And this is Black Chick.
Yes, and I'm the other half of D.A.R.R.E, Dialogue Authentically about Real Racial Experiences. And I am a psychotherapist here in Houston with private practices. Right now, I'm just doing the video sessions. And I am also author of Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Toolkit, as well as the online Narcissistic Abuse and Trauma Bonds recovery program that I have online as well.
Yes. So for more information about us, sallybartamioli.com, dgardner.com.
The counseling service, counselingservice.com.
So Dee and I started this dialogue about 3 years ago, and we just decided to jump right in. We have a YouTube channel, D.A.R.R.E, D-A.R.R.E, and we'll have more information about how to get a hold of us at the end of this dialogue. But we're here today to talk with you about how to talk about difficult things to talk about. And that difficult thing is racism. How do we dialogue about racism? And how do we stand together to look at issues of racism? And so, what I do is I ask Dee, how can I help? How can I be of service? So Dee, in this video, I'd like to just keep it simple and ask you, in terms of dialoguing about racism, because first of all, if we're not able to talk about it, we're not going to be able to change anything, right? We're not going to build bridges with each other. D.A.R.R.E is about building bridges. So what can I do to help? How can I help in the conversation, in the dialogue about racism?
Okay, so a start would be making the inquiry like you're making. Notice your curiosity, and you can go to a Black person, you can go to a person of color and find out, get information like you've done with me. Get information, gather more data on what is it I've said that might be offensive. How do you take this? How I could have said it differently. Does that
Right.
answer?
It does. Just notice my own curiosity, go to a person of color, go to a Black person. And I know you have shared with me that, find other white people too who have been on this journey longer. And I appreciate that. I have
Mhm.
some of those people in my life. So I'm grateful for that. And I know we had a whole series on our D.A.R.R.E channel on microaggressions, these things that, we do that we don't even know we're doing. So it's not like people are conscious of their racism, but I appreciate that. Notice that I'm curious and then take the risk to ask someone to help educate me. How else can I be of service?
And being honest with yourself, being honest is very, very important. Being willing to leave your comfort zone, because that's what this would take. Being willing to leave your comfort zone, your white cocoon, and on my end, being willing to leave my brown cocoon, and willing to have the conversation. So I guess all that goes with the curiosity part.
So, noticing I'm curious, being honest and willing to take the risk. And, Dee, I know even in our D.A.R.R.E recording, sometimes I'm like committing microaggressions as we are in the conversation.
Mhm.
And so I think there is also this acceptance, this fear of asking the question, this fear of making a mistake, but I've just come to accept, that I will make mistakes, that it's a one day at a time, lifelong journey. Would
Right.
you agree?
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
Also, it's important to immerse yourself. That's one way you get really comfortable, because that's a part of being honest, being authentic, being real, because we could tell. Blacks we're very intuitive and we can tell. So when you immerse yourself with church, friends, dinner, not
Like
just
Black
work,
people, you mean other cultures?
immerse yourself with other cultures, whatever culture you're wanting to know.
Mhm.
You know, how often, think about how often are you the minority?
Yeah,
Probably 99% of the settings I'm in, I'm the minority.
gotcha. Yeah.
So that way you learn some of the intuitive parts, some of the things you that aren't said. Sometimes when we are explaining an offense, it may not come, you may not understand it. You may say, well, I don't agree because I didn't intend to, because that's not what I said. I said this, but some of it is, it's intuitive.
It's intuitive.
As a
So in
woman,
yeah.
for example, as a woman, then I'll let you talk. As a woman, sexism, if someone calls you a name like sweetie or honey, then who's to decide who was the offender? Who's to decide that this is offensive?
Mhm.
You know, so maybe you have an example of that where someone offended you from a sexist standpoint.
Yes, I do. It was very recent. I called somebody up to help me with some work and he called me darling.
Mhm.
I thought, and you know what? I actually thought of you because I thought, oh, I'm not even going to take time to explain to this man how disrespectful that is. And I know that, that Black people are tired too.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate you giving me some pointers on how I can help. So noticing my curiosity, being willing to be honest and take the risk, knowing that I'm going to make mistakes,
Mhm.
leave my comfortable little white cocoon, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And then how else could I be helpful? What's another way that I could be helpful?
One main thing that I think is a barrier between maintaining this type of dialogue is the label. Dropping the label. Am I a racist? This person thinks I'm a racist. I'm a good person. I'm not a racist. Just suspending that altogether and perhaps replace it with, am I biased? Racial bias. Is there a but we all have our biases, all of us. And we're in America. Race, color, people of color, all of that is in the fabric of this society. So if we could just suspend that, am I a racist versus am I exhibiting a racial bias? Would I have said this had it not been for the color of this person or the way this person is presenting? Would I feel this same way if this was my child or my son or my daughter?
Right, right,
So just get rid of the label itself is a barrier and
right.
triggers some strong emotions.
Yeah, yeah. And we talked about those microaggressions often being unconscious. So this is a way
Yes.
to just drop that and really accept, we have grown up in a racist culture. And the trauma of slavery, post-traumatic slave syndrome is a powerful book which helps us understand the multi-generational trauma of
Mhm.
slavery and just accepting that, okay, let's just put that aside and just assume that I have some of these biases and that I have some of these microaggressions and unconscious um, racist ways of thinking, and know that that's a one day at a time learning.
Right. Not, we would not be human without having some sort of bias
Right,
based on gender, color, race, especially in America, socioeconomic background, all types of height,
right. Yeah,
dress, attire, it goes on and on.
yeah,
No, it doesn't make any of us bad people.
right, right. And I know, Dee, you and I have talked about some of the things you've heard as a Black woman when people get defensive, instead of just kind of setting aside that label, being open to seeing our own unconscious. I'm a shadow work facilitator, so we know we all have things in our shadow, right? It's not
Right.
about, do we have those things in shadow? It's about, hey, how about we bring those to the surface and let them have some light so we have more choice in our life. So I know that you have had you've heard some common as a Black person defenses. What are some of the statements you hear when you know someone isn't curious?
Standard responses that we get on a regular basis. One of them is, well, I can't be racist because I have a Black friend.
Yeah, I
Or
think I've said that.
we elected a Black president, so that means I'm not racist. So, you know, if I say you offended me, if you say you don't see color, that feels very offensive to me. And they're like, but I'm not racist because, can you think of one?
Well, I've had thoughts like, well, just work hard. My grandparents came over here from Italy. Just work hard. It's not that bad anymore. I've heard people actually, it's not that bad anymore. Or my family never owned slaves. I didn't grow up in the South. All these ways of minimizing the trauma.
Right. When Jim Crow, there are people alive right now during the Jim Crow times. My great great grandfather was actually a slave. That's not really that long ago when my dad was born at the turn of this century.
Right, right. Dee, thank you so much for your willingness. I'm so grateful for our opportunity to dialogue authentically about real racial experiences. In summary, how can we help? Notice our curiosity, walk through the fear and be willing to take the risk to ask someone about my behavior to help to teach me. Know that I'm going to make mistakes in the process. It's one day at a time. Just be honest and be willing to leave my white cocoon, to immerse myself in Black culture, to learn about Black culture, and to drop the label. Just accept that we all have biases. I have biases, and I'm willing to lean into the discomfort and learn how I can really be a woman who addresses these issues and creates dialogue and builds bridges. I'm committed to being a woman who builds bridges and dialogues authentically. So thank you so much for
You're
being here.
welcome.
Any last words?
One thing that I was just thinking about was that phrase, seek to understand, then to be understood. So
Thank you.
if a person keeps that attitude works in business, it works in families, it works in every area of your life. Then we wouldn't jump into all of the defenses and the guilt and the um,
Denial.
justifications and denial. Yes.
Thank you. Well,
Welcome.
we're here to introduce you to D.A.R.R.E, Dialogue Authentically About Real Racial Experiences. My name is Sally Bartamioli. You can learn more about me at sallybartamioli.com or lorabridges.com. This is White Chick checking out.
And I am Dee Gardner, the counseling service, thecounselingservice.com. Black chick, check it out.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.